Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I'd like to share my story with you. It's about my daughter Rachel, who is 8 years old. And it starts off on a Sunday morning, sitting reading the Sunday Sun newspaper. I see a young boy sitting in a hospital bed with his arms extended in victory, and he's just undergone a double lung transplant. My daughter Rachel comes up behind me and asks, why does this boy look so happy? He's in a hospital bed. So I explained to her that he got new lungs and he's really happy. And she said, well, what happened to his old lungs? So I'm explaining to her that he got sick and that he had to have an organ transplant. So she goes back to playing. A couple minutes later, she said, when I die, I want to give my organs so I can save kids. And in that moment, I was just so proud that she would embrace that thought of giving. So fast forward 5 weeks. My son Sean, who's 6 at the time, comes home with a flu bug. He's down and out for a couple of days. And then I come down with the flu. And then Rachel gets the flu. Well, unfortunately, Rachel's just took a whole life of its own. And after a week, I ended up taking her to the hospital. And they told me that she had a condition called ITP, where your antibodies attack the platelets instead of the virus. So they would transfer her to Sick Kids Hospital to monitor her platelets. Now, normally the platelets would multiply and you would recover. In a less than 1% chance, you can get a spontaneous bleed, and that can be in any of your organs, and again, it's recoverable. Except that with Rachel, her bleed was in her brain, and it didn't present itself in the same way with the same symptoms. So it took a while to figure out what was going on. We did a CT scan, and that's when they discovered that her brain was bleeding. So immediately they put her into brain surgery, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, a week ago my kid's got the flu, now she's in brain surgery. What the heck is going on? The next day, after a couple of hours of surgery, they come out and they tell us that Rachel's brain had swollen too much and she was pronounced brain dead. So now she went to having the flu, brain surgery, and now my daughter's dead. You can imagine the devastation. I mean, my kids got the flu. Kids don't die from the flu. And so we all gathered in the room to say our goodbyes to Rachel. And my son is saying, well, who's gonna walk me to school? And I'm thinking, she's got a dance recital next week. Like, I mean, you're so devastated that it's like you can't even get your head around that this has actually happened. And the doctor asked me if I'd considered organ transplant. And I said no, but she had, because 5 weeks before, she had actually expressed it. So in my absolute worst nightmare, and you're absolutely powerless and helpless to save your child, the only thing that I could do was fulfill on her wishes. So I consented to the organ donation. And Rachel was able to donate her lungs, her heart, and 2 corneas. Her heart was transplanted into a 7-year-old girl and saved her life. The organs were flown down to the US into Pittsburgh and transplanted into a 13-year-old girl who had already undergone a heart and a lung transplant. So this was her 2nd lung transplant. So we gave her a second chance at life. One of her corneas went into an infant who had been blinded at birth and gave her sight. And the other cornea was transplanted into an infant who had been blinded in surgery. So she gave 2 people sight and saved 2 lives, which, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how that legacy lives in my heart as hope and beauty and love. And that's how my daughter is represented in my heart.